Hello, my name's Diana Walser, and this is my dad.
Hi, I'm Marty Walser, also known as Raging Owlbear on social media, and welcome to Owlbear Kids, a new show that we're starting to talk about board games and RPGs intended for younger audiences. Today we're going to review
Munchkin Treasure Hunt!
Munchkin Treasure Hunt by Steve Jackson Games, also the makers of the original Munchkin card game upon which this is based. Now, Munchkin Treasure Hunt is a board game for ages 6 and up for the younger audience who may not be ready for some of the nuances of Munchkin, as if there are that many nuances. But basically, Munchkin Treasure Hunt is a dungeon crawling board game where you move around the board with your token, you fight the monsters on the board, and then you collect the treasures. And the way the game ends is you want to be the one at the end of the game who has collected the most treasures in order to win. Now, the way you move around the board, obviously, is by using dice. And you move over to each of the monsters in order to fight them. And in order to fight them, you have to have equipment treasures, basically. And each of the monsters on the board has a power level, and you use the various equipment that you have in your hand or in front of you as permanent equipment to fight the monster. So, for example...
So, an example of a one-use card is Commotion Potion.
And there's our kitty.
Okay, again, this is an example of one use. This is called Commotion Potion. It's a +2 bonus. It's also worth 2 gold.
We also have permanent ones called +2 with like this Protective Kittens, which is appropriate
and
for...
this is another +2 called Pokey Stick.
Right. Now, the permanent items, when you use them in combat, you don't have to discard them, but the one-time use ones, you do. So if you have, as an example, if you're fighting the zombie, which has a power of 8 to start with, you then pull one of the monster cards, and this tells you how much stronger the monster is from the typical one. So as an example, we picked up this Violent, so now he's a violent zombie, and he gets a +4. So you add the 8 plus the 4 from the card to give him a total power.
Now he's a 12.
Yes, total power of 12.
And now the cat.
Don't worry about the cat for right now. So then you take all the equipment you might have in front of you, like I have a permanent +1 and another permanent +2, and then maybe I have a few other cards like this +4. Decide which ones I want to play, and then roll the die to see how I've done. Well, luckily I rolled a 5. So I add that 5 to all the equipment and the items that I decided to use during that combat. And if I beat the total of 12 with zombie, I have now won that combat and collected treasures. However, in order to do that, I have to discard the treasures that I use. So if I use this one-time use +4, that goes into the discard pile. But I get to pick 3 treasures. So it's a balance of going to the different monsters that you think you can beat with what equipment you have without having to use too much of your equipment. So while the dragon and the troll might give you 5 treasures, it might cost you a lot to fight them because you need to use up some of your treasures in order to win.
Because they're very strong.
Yeah, they are very strong.
But it is worth it if you beat them. So let's say I was fighting the dragon. And the dragon is a monster card plus monster card. So I need to pick up 2 monster cards. My first one is cursed, so that's a +1.
That's pretty good for fighting the dragon.
But my second one is humongous, which is a +5.
It's a +5.
So that's a +6.
Yep. So the dragon would start with an 18.
And 12 plus 6 equals 18.
That's
so
right.
he would start with an 18, and you're going to have to find all the cards that add up to 18.
Yeah, so that's going to take
win.
a lot of your treasure cards to win on 18.
But you get 5 treasures back if you defeat him.
That is true.
And if you lose, you can either retreat or try again when it's your turn.
Now, this game plays for about an hour, so it's pretty good for kids that are aged 7 to 9 or thereabouts. It's a little bit long for younger kids, 5 and 6 years old, but as I said, you can try to limit the number of treasures that you have in the game to get it to move along more quickly. This is also similar to other dungeon crawling games like the game Dungeon from Wizards of the Coast, which they acquired from TSR. It
helps introduce kids in board gaming.
Yeah, that's right. It helps introduce your kids to the board gaming. And if they're a little bit older and you want to try another dungeon crawler, there are also the Dungeons & Dragons board games, like the one behind us. So, this is a game that we often enjoy in the house. And what are the things that you like about the game, Diana?
I like its illustrations. My 2 favorite illustrations are the dragon and the witch. I think they're very detailed. And this is a good game. And I also like these funny illustrations like we said earlier, shaking a finger. The funny thing is it's a +2, but all you're doing is shaking your finger.
Yeah. So there's a lot of little jokes like +2. And then you have things like pennies from heaven, which give you a +1, a little in-joke there for the parents. Day-old pizza, which we all can identify with as gamers, +2 bonus for that. And then even ones that the parents can identify with, such as one called Hollow Threats, which we all know as parents. But, so that's Munchkin Treasure Hunt in a nutshell. A very basic dungeon crawling board game where you run around the board, fight monsters, collect treasure, and whoever has the most treasure at the end wins.
Now let's talk about how to move your thing and maybe how to get gold without winning a battle.
Sure, yes.
So the first strategy is getting gold. So let's say you're right at the end of here, and then it's your turn, and you go to the middle. You get 1 treasure card, but each monster has a number, and then you roll the die. I got a 5, so that means I have to go straight to the ghost.
That's right. So there are spaces on the board where you can move around and just get a treasure for free. Or if you go to the center, you get a treasure for free, but you have to roll the die, and then you're forced to fight one of the monsters on the outside.
And there's another way to get gold too, and there's also a reroll. So if there's a die, that means reroll. And
That's right.
if there's a picture of a monster, you go straight to that monster. And then if there's a picture of a treasure, you get 1 treasure piece before proceeding to anything else.
Yep.
And the blank ones just mean just stay there.
So that's pretty much the game in a nutshell. Get to the end of the treasure card pile, and you're done. Count up all your treasures, and whoever has the highest wins the game. So this has been our review of Munchkin Treasure Hunt from Steve Jackson Games, and we hope to see you on a next episode of Owlbear Kids.
Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.